This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty with you here live at Meteo Mundo on this Wednesday. I hope you've been having a good one. Wanted to come on live for a couple different reasons here. We've got to talk about what's happening with some of the flooding going on through portions of our area. Also keeping a really close eye on what's going to be happening here through the rest of the Caribbean as well. Just want to make sure, check, mic is on. Yeah, okay, thanks. Just want to make sure that we're streaming here live. We got the audio up. All right, we're good to go. Great to see you guys live on this Wednesday. What I really want to hear from you guys in the comments section, give me a wave. Let me know how you guys are doing. Let me know where you're viewing from. And obviously from some of our friends in Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands and portions of the Leeward Islands, our thoughts with you guys. Let us know how things have been going in your area. So in this video, it's going to kind of act like the Wednesday forecast video, but we're going to get a little bit more expanded as well. Certainly going to talk about the here and now, kind of break down what I expect, but then we're going to get into a little bit longer range forecasting. We're going to take a look at our ocean temperatures. We're going to take a look at the rainfall that I expect over the next week or so. And then I'm going to show you some of the longer range models that I have here at Meteo Mundo. And we're going to look a little bit deeper into May, because obviously now look, we're getting kind of on that buffer zone of the beginning of hurricane season. No, it officially begins June 1st, but obviously there's a lot of signs that things could be bubbling up earlier. And if nothing else, it has been a very wet time for a lot of us here. So great to see you guys. Hi, Noble Pills. How you doing there? Andre Anguilla, great to see you. Hi, Maxine, watching for the Bahamas. Great to see you guys. Again, we're going to break down the forecast across everywhere. I do want to get started with what's kind of happening right now. And again, first of all, if you're new to Meteo Mundo or you haven't tuned in just a little bit, we have added live lightning data. So I'm on live here at 6 p.m. and we can actually talk about the here and the now. You see the live lightning count, and this is for the entire world, really. We have access to that. So what's really going to help me do is it's really going to help me pinpoint in real time where the worst thunderstorm activity is. Now, again, it has been hellacious, to be quite honest, over Puerto Rico and portions of the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands for today. Again, they continue to get inundated in rain. Flash flood warnings are up still. So you can see on our enhanced satellite imagery some of that developing here. I'm going to switch over right now to the NextRad radar site there. As a matter of fact, give me just 1 second here. I need to pull up the correct NextRad site. Here we go. I want to look at this one right here, and that's going to come on live for you here. Drop that on. There we go. Let's get rid of the satellite data. So this is currently what's happening, and I'm also going to put on the flash flood watches and warnings that are currently in effect. Okay, so this is what's happening right here and now, and we'll go back in time and we'll look at what's been happening through all of Puerto Rico. But again, we have more issues in Puerto Rico for today. Flash flood warnings are still up for portions of the western area. You can see the times that they'll expire, okay? So places near San Sebastian at around 10 minutes, still another hour or so just southeast of Aguadilla there. I've actually got up the actual warnings here, so I can pull those up as well. Flash flood warning will continue for Mocha until 7 p.m. Look, if you live in Puerto Rico, you know the situation. We've had days and days of heavy rain. We've had all types of flash flooding, and many of you have commented in our latest videos what you're seeing. And obviously the news is not good. You're talking about, landslides, mudslides. You're talking about a lot of lower areas being flooded. You're talking about street flooding. You're talking about really major road flooding in some areas. It's obviously extremely area dependent, but generally speaking, we have had inches and inches of rain, 5+ inches of rain or more in some spots in just the last couple of days. And it continues on this Wednesday afternoon as well. Let me get back over to the live chat here, guys. Good to see everyone as well. Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate you here. We're going to cover everyone. I promised you that, and then get into the tropical forecast. But again, in the here and now, we really have to concern ourselves with a couple of spots. You see what's happening right now in the western sides of Puerto Rico. Showers will continue, and there's still plenty more rain out there. When I zoom this out again, we've had just waves of rain coming through. Now, earlier in the day, it was very rough through the eastern islands, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, the U.S. Virgin Islands, then over towards Roadtown, Tortola area of the British Virgin Islands. There's a really nasty storm earlier today that went over St. Croix, so glad to see that they're drying up a little bit. But again, big old slug of moisture just southwest of the island. The problem is we're still going to have the potential for more heavy rain tonight and more heavy rain again for at least tomorrow as well. So we really have to keep a really close eye on portions of Puerto Rico over the next several days. And again, if you're just tuning in right now, we're live here at Meteo Mundo, and we're watching a few flash flood warnings that are currently in effect. Now, this one is going to expire in 10 minutes, and then the one just to the north and west there in Mocha goes until 7 p.m. Now, let me do this. Let me take off the radar data here because that will allow me to loop things up a little bit longer. So I'm going to zoom back out, and then I'm going to go back into the island, and then I'm going to put this into motion. And I just want you guys to see what I'm talking about here when it comes to the actual what's been happening here over the last 6 hours. Let me make sure I can get this to loop real quick. There we go. All right, so you can see the timeline again live. When I zoom in on this and I pop on the flash flood warnings, look at what the island has been dealing with all day. So what you're going to see is the counties outlined in flash flood warnings throughout the afternoon. And you can just see how widespread they were a few hours ago and then what we're left with right now. So really the central, Coamo and Ponce and Yauco, Utualto, and then off towards the west, that's had the heaviest rain. But central and eastern sides of the island had some of the heaviest rain yesterday. So they're the ones that have gotten, maybe a little bit of a break today, but the soil is so saturated and all the water levels are so high. Again, I'm gonna look at I have a tablet right here. It's just off camera, but it allows me to look at the live chat. And so I wanna be able to interact with you guys as well. So let me jump to the live chat real quick. Hi, Island Girl, how you doing? From Antigua and Barbuda. Caribbean Weather Watchers and Spotters Extreme says hi from Barbados. Richard Stubbs is in the Turks of the Caicos. Says it's rainy yesterday, but pretty good right now. Andre in Kingston, we'll get into your forecast. Thanks so much for tuning in from Jamaica. April says, what's up? And Paul Anderson says, Vieques got pounded this morning. I can imagine, Paul. Here's Vieques right here in the Esperanza area. Again, waves of very heavy rain have come off of the mainland, moving through places like Vieques and Culebra, and then on over towards St. Thomas and St. John. Charlotte Amalie had some very rough weather earlier as well. Cruz Bay, and then Christiansted and St. Croix. No one has been immune to the heavy rain and storms in this area here over the last several days. It's been a very rough go. And quite honestly, as I've looked at this, this surface trough has been in play. It's brought even more rain than I expected, and it's lingered longer as well. There are signs that this is finally beginning to move away and dry up a bit, but I still have my concerns for our Thursday as well. So I'll continue to monitor this area very, very closely. So that's kind of the latest of what's happening right now. And again, if you live in these areas like Paul is, drop a comment in, let everyone know how you're doing. If you have an update to some of the situations happening in this area, we always like that real-time information here at Meteo Mundo, and that's part of what we do here at the channel with all the data that we can provide. And then jumping on live is we like to talk about the real-time, what's happening now, and of course we always can get into the forecast. But again, our thoughts are with a lot of those folks. In the northern Leeward Islands, we've had some showers and storms roll across the area today. You can see that in Anguilla on over towards St. Martin and St. Bartholomew. Nice showers in this area. It's been more sporadic, but we've had some good downpours in this area, and that has been able to drift over Barbuda and portions of Antigua as well. Ceiba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, again, kind of right on the outskirts of seeing some of that moisture, but certainly still the opportunity for some downpours in this area. And you can see our live lightning data as well. If you look at the top left-hand side of your screen, this is the loop over the last 6 hours on this Wednesday, and you can see those showers and a few rumbles of thunder working their way across the Leeward Islands. We've had a couple of good downpours over Guadalupe, and one other thing I can do real quickly here is I'm just going to throw on the current temperatures so you also get an idea. This is one of the things that I use as well to know when it actually has begun to rain in your area, because obviously we'll see the temperature drop when that happens as well. So I use kind of all the information I have. I've got the live radars, I've got the enhanced satellite imagery, I've got the live lightning data. These are your current temperatures. Looking at Antigua, drop back down to 79 as some of the passing clouds and showers have rolled close to the island there. Look at Dominica on the south side, still in at 90. So again, temperature is another way to kind of analyze what's happening across your area. Now, we're going to try and slip in, and I'm crossing my fingers, a little bit of rain from Martinique south late on this Wednesday. I don't have any big, high hopes here, but you can see some of the moisture moving in St. Vincent, Grenadines, St. Lucia, Martinique, on over towards Barbados. Hot day there. Temperature right around 90 degrees, really steamy. Obviously, by the way, we have the Saharan dust layer in play in this area as well. If you live in some of these areas, let me know how hazy it's been. As a matter of fact here, when I go back over to Antigua and Barbuda's meteorological service, they do have the air quality alert at moderate levels. By the way, and I always mention this as well, any of the watches or the warnings or the advisories that I talk about are always official statements from local government. Obviously, I'm never going to issue my own watches and warnings. I'll interpret them, and we'll talk about how that could impact you. But as far as saying, look, there's a flash flood warning right now in this part of Puerto Rico, or there is a surf advisory for the western side of Barbados, that comes from your local officials. And you should always check in with local officials for the most up-to-date information, but also for any, timely, action that you might need to take. And that's obviously becomes even more and more important as we get into hurricane season. Let me go back over here on the tablet and say hi to a few other folks that are just joining us right now. Miguel joining us from St. Martin. Great to see you, Miguel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Misunderstood says you have become my go-to the past couple of weeks. Very in-depth. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're still relatively new. We jumped on at the end of the last hurricane season. Really, the only hurricane that we covered live was Hurricane Tammy. And that actually brought a lot of folks in the Meteo Mundo. But obviously, as we're getting closer to ramping back up hurricane season, more and more of you are finding us again. And if you, just like Misunderstood, are getting something out of this, there's a couple of things you could do for me. First of all, click the like button right now on this live stream. I appreciate that. The YouTube algorithm, it counts more than you think. More likes, more views. It means that YouTube recommends these videos a little bit more. And obviously, we just want to get more eyes on, because a lot of people who end up tuning in end up subscribing and continue to watch us. So it's just trying to let people know that we exist, to be quite honest. And obviously sharing this page with your family and friends if you think that they'll get something out of this as well, especially as we get closer into hurricane season. So let's drop on a little bit farther off towards the south. Let me quickly say here. Ignar says Curacao is dry. Yeah, it's interesting though. Tell me about that, Ignar, because there was a few days ago that Curacao actually had some flooding rains. Now, it might have not been in your part of the island, but I did see some video of some good downpours. So hopefully not island-wide, but maybe you just missed some of those downpours. We know how it goes. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. How we doing there? World Weather Tracker says, when's your hurricane season prediction? So we're going to talk a little bit about what I expect towards the end of May coming up in this live stream. That was something I wanted to do. I've made one video so far kind of talking about the season in general, but we'll get into that a little bit more through May. I don't know if I'm going to come up with I think we're going to have this many name storms, yada, 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 but just breaking down kind of the ingredients that are out there. I mean, I am with everyone else. And by everyone else, I mean most everyone else who believes that this more than likely will be an active hurricane season based on everything that I've seen. Doesn't mean anyone's going to head your way, right? Sometimes it only takes one, but the amount of tropical systems that could be out there might be very, very high this year. And obviously that's just more bullets to the gun, if you will, and more things that we have to worry about. Let's move on real quick, guys, to what's happening right now for my friends in Trinidad and Tobago. Temperatures trying to drop there as some moisture is sneaking out of the mainland. Again, we have the Saharan dust layer in play, but we're just getting a little bit of moisture right now. It's really easy to tell actually on this enhanced satellite imagery. When I zoom out, can you guys see this clear bubble right here? as all the Saharan dust suppressing really any lift in the atmosphere. There's a ton of showers and storms farther south in latitude. They're just not able to make the trek up towards the north. And then, as I've mentioned here, and again, with the ABC Islands, we have a ton of rain off the mainland, and from time to time, we've eked some of this over the island. So one of our friends in Curacao said they've been very dry. We've had at least some rain here lately, and you can see some of that bubbling up with a few lightning strikes just south of the islands. But again, it's been very steamy with temperatures there that have been in the upper 80s to the lower 90s. Let's go on over to my friends in Jamaica. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. Drying out a bit here across the island for today. If you've caught a shower, let me know here, but I'm going to switch over to the visible satellite imagery. You can see a little bit thicker cloud coverage here. Again, this is our visible satellite imagery. And the opportunity for a few showers that have developed here and there. You notice Kingston's temperatures dropped down a little bit. So a few showers today, not as widespread, not as heavy, no lightning out of any of this as well. But Kingston, went from near 90 degrees back down to around 86, and Montego Bay has been able to drop down to 84. Great to always see my friends out of Jamaica, Portmore, Spanish Town, Old Harbor, Mandeville, Maypen. For the rest of the area, Montego Bay and Negril, Savannah, Lamar, St. Elizabeth Parish, Westmoreland, anyone, Port Antonio. Thank you so much, guys. Jaden says heat index was 111 for today, and I believe Jaden, new friend of the channel, is in Aruba. So yeah, pretty rough there. Mervin says Saharan dust here, very humid. In SVG, thank you so much, Mervin. Great to hear you. Great to see you as well. Gail says St. Croix is wet. Is there any more rain for us the next couple of days? A spotty shower is possible, yes. Glad to see you're actually getting some rain, Gail, because, obviously it's been somewhat dry there. You're in the more cross your fingers for a passing shower rather than being inundated in the rain. Obviously, I don't want to negate what's been happening in Hispaniola as well. So let me get back over here just real quickly. And again, this is an area where I've actually been slightly pleasantly surprised for those folks who live in the Dominican Republic and who have chimed in, and I appreciate those comments about what's been happening. They've talked about how there's been some flooding, but I was very concerned that we might have extreme flooding through portions of the Dominican Republic, especially, again, if you know the island, it's an extremely mountainous island, very high terrain in some spots. You get a couple of inches of rain, it can really cause some landslide and mudslide issues. And we've had some heavy rain from Puerto Plata to Santiago de los Caballeros on over towards La Romana, Santo Domingo. You can see a little shower storm developing right there. Didn't add up to much, but Santo Domingo drops down to 79, so and then in Santo Domingo for today, they had a nice little passing shower and storm there. And again, an area that doesn't really need to see more rain, but it was just north of some of the coastal areas that really had that big maximum of rain the last couple of days. And luckily, that's not the case for today. And you can see the clouds building in for La Romana and Punta Cana. Samana as well. We've had some showers over portions of Haiti, Port-au-Prince, our friends in Lacaille there. They've had some inundation of rain, but overall, again, I haven't seen anything that has really stood out, which is good because they've been dealing with a lot of rain. Turks and Caicos begins to dry out. They've had some heavier downpours as well, but now we're starting to see that axis of drier air move in. When I now move over to the water vapor imagery, and the reason why I'm doing this is because as we shift west, now we're getting into our drier spots. I got to tell you, what a dichotomy. You're looking at way too wet and then way too dry and way too hot. We've got everything right now. A couple of areas are kind of in between, like the ABC Islands and Jamaica have kind of had both, but most of the Eastern Caribbean and the Greater Antilles in general have had too much rain lately. And then you get to the Northwest Caribbean and it's been way too wet. We'll talk about a little of this moisture developing here in the Southwest Caribbean coming up as well. But again, let's talk about the heat that has been in place for places like Belize and Honduras and Nicaragua. I'm going to take 1 second and go back to our chat. And again, hi Beryl, how are you? Thanks. Good to see you guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in on this live stream here at Meteo Mundo. Wanted to just come on. I wanted to talk about what's happening in Puerto Rico and other areas right now. Wanted to just kind of get everyone accustomed to doing this live again, especially as we get closer to hurricane season. Going to have more opportunities to do that. Also, if you look, you might see a custom badge or emoji from some of our members. And we do have some members here at Media Mundo. I'll talk about how you can become a member coming up, but you might see some of those. I believe this is the first live stream that I've done since we've actually offered memberships here at Media Mundo. And I really appreciate our members. And we'll talk about how you can become a member if you would like to do so and help support the channel as well. So, Belize. It has been excruciatingly hot. San Pedro, Belize City, even some of the coastal areas have snuck above 90 degrees. But you get to San Ignacio now, it hit 106 today. Now, what's interesting, you can see the enhanced satellite imagery and look at their temperature dive bomb to 86. They had a little bit of rain there near San Ignacio for today. And we have a couple of folks who follow us here at Media Mundo who live in San Ignacio. Let me know in the comments section if you're viewing, if you caught that shower, because there's only one thing that's going to drop your temperature by 20 degrees, and that's a decent downpour over that area, which I'm sure is very appreciated. Roatan enjoying a beautiful day right now in the upper 80s. And then again, you get into, portions of Honduras and Nicaragua, Guatemala and El Salvador, and it's really area dependent because there's all different kinds of elevation for us here. So you're going anywhere from some 80s to 90s, and there's a little 108 there northeast of Guatemala City. Now, when we pull this back out a little bit more here, and I switch back over to the traditional infrared imagery, again, this is an interesting feature, okay? First of all, I do not expect any tropical development in the Southwest Caribbean out of this. There's a few reasons why. First of all, there's not a huge wind field, and anything that is getting going right now from the mid to the upper levels, the winds are not helping each other right now, okay? Now, this is a huge flare-up of storms with heavy rain over portions of Costa Rica and Panama. Again, if there is an opportunity that we might try and eke something out, it might actually be on the Pacific side. All right, as this slowly works its way off to the west. Now look, this is an area of interest. I'm going to always keep an eye on it. I have no real concerns. But again, signs of life already here in early May to see something like this. And I got to tell you, relatively speaking, this has been a very persistent area of showers and storms here. Just again, on both sides of Panama and Costa Rica. And then again, what might happen off towards the west. But there's not a lot of wind right now in the Southwest Caribbean. But anything in the mid and upper levels just isn't quite conducive as of this point in time. My friends of the Cayman Islands, have you been enjoying things? I think it's been a relatively nice but dry forecast there. West End hit 90, Georgetown up to around 88 today. And my friends of the Bahamas, I got to tell you, man, look, I always focus on areas that really need it, and for time in the spring. We were talking about the Bahamas every single day for these storms coming in. It has been a little bit quieter here the last few weeks. My friends at Freeport, Grand Bahama, Nassau, New Providence, Eleuthera and Walker's Key, Alistown, great to see you guys for today. Please enjoy again. Still have an easterly breeze. From time to time, there's a small craft caution. But other than that, it's been very tranquil weather. And again, this time of the year, we expect that because the cold fronts out of the southeast United States, they just aren't able to work their way all the way through to provide us any real problems. All right, let's get back over here. And again, on the chat, would love to see you guys. Let me know how things are going. I'm going to double check here in Puerto Rico real quick, and then we're going to get into the forecasting about the rest of May and some of my thoughts that I have. So just back over to Puerto Rico real quickly here. I'm going to switch back on the flash flood warnings, and we're going to see if there's anything else that has popped up here. Doesn't look like it. That's good news. I have a tablet just off screen, which allows me to do a few things. One, I can rumble through all the watches, warnings, advisories when we're live like this. Two, I have the YouTube channel up and I can see any of the comments that are going on as well. I'm gonna take a real quick sip of water. And again, you got a question or a comment, drop it in the comment section below. Would love to hear from you guys. That was good. After 20 minutes of talking, I need a quick break. But again, you guys get the idea of kind of what I want to do here at Media Mundo, because when we have an actual tropical system in play, we can come on live and we can talk about it in real time. We also will then turn the channel into a 24/7 stream. Some of you remember that from hurricane season last year. From time to time, we've shown that early this year as well. But that will allow you to tune in when you want to and catch a live stream of this radar system behind us, now with live lightning data as well. Just another feature here at Media Mundo. Okay, so I do want to get into kind of a couple of things here. let's see how I want to do this. Let's start with this real quick first. That's not it, so let me take myself off camera. I knew I might have not set this up correctly, but that's okay, we'll get there. This is the first thing that I want to talk about. That's the Saharan dust layer, all right? So the Saharan dust layer is going to be a factor for a couple of different reasons. First of all, it's pretty thick right now through most of the Leeward Islands, and then moving into the Eastern Caribbean, places like the ABC Islands will be experiencing some of this thicker dust. It obviously, too, again, suppresses in some ways the opportunity for showers and storms when you have that dust layer. Makes things very hazy. It's rough on the old respiratory system as well. But that Saharan dust layer will continue to move off towards the west, and it's going to stay intact enough where a decent portion of the Caribbean is expected to be impacted by it. I think Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, portions of the Caribbean coastline of the Yucatan and the Central American area, and then tries to kind of bend back. It kind of tries to bend back north and east, maybe clipping South Florida and portions of the Bahamas. It won't be as thick then, but again, the Saharan dust layer is in play. Now look, a lot of you have asked me, does the Saharan dust layer suppress hurricane tropical activity? The answer is yes, but what's happening right now is extremely typical. Normally, the Saharan dust layer impacts our area April, May, maybe into portions of June, but it fades as we ramp up into the heart of hurricane season. So it could have an impact on early season development, but generally speaking, as we really get into the thick of it, into August and September and October, the Saharan dust layer is not a player in what's happening tropically any longer than that. All right, this thing is still not wanting to go to the next clip. That's okay. Let me do this real quick again. I want to switch over to this, and we'll see. Maybe by the end I can get it to actually cooperate. Let's look at the ocean temperatures real quickly. So these are current ocean temperatures. These aren't forecasted temperatures. And if you've watched some of the videos in the past, you've heard me talk about how outrageous these numbers are. Generally speaking, these are our late July, early August sea surface temperatures. These are in degrees Celsius. Even from last week, you see a lot more brown. In brown, you have to be at least 28.5 degrees Celsius. But we're talking about some areas that are 30 to now even 31 degrees Celsius. So you're talking about water temperatures that are approaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit in some spots. And it's not really just some spots anymore. It's a good chunk of the Caribbean and even portions, of the Western Atlantic as well. This is really outrageous temperatures. But again, few things. First of all, high sea surface temperatures is just one factor, right, in what's happening as far as tropical development. I always talk about it, and when I worked on television, I always talked about it being like a soup. You need all the ingredients to be there to get yourself a tropical system. This is one of the ingredients, and it's there, it's in play. And the Southwest Caribbean has some of our highest sea surface temperatures, okay? So this is an area to watch, especially as all of these thunderstorms lift off the mainland there, situate themselves over Panama, Costa Rica, really don't move very much. But again, certainly these temperatures are supportive of tropical development. Doesn't mean we'll get it anytime soon because it's just one factor, but the fact that you're looking at sea surface temperatures that are more like midsummer is another sign of a potential active year. The other thing, of course, is that we're in La Nina, and I've talked about that before. I've shown a few slides. In La Nina, we get less wind shear in the Atlantic and the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, which typically aids in development because the storms aren't ripped apart like they would be. We had some of that happen last year in El Nino. Some of the storms got going. There was more wind shear, meaning that the storms, as they developed vertically in the atmosphere, were ripped apart by strong winds going in different directions. That should not be as much of a factor this year as we get into La Nina. Is this going to work? Yes, okay, 7-day rainfall totals. So I wanted to take a look at what's happening in the here and now. When you look at the 7-day rainfall totals, what you're looking at is going to be basically how much rain are you going to get over the next 7 days, okay? And I want you to note the areas that are going to see the highest rainfall totals. Well, as you would imagine, it's some of the spots that's very wet right now. It's like the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, northern side of the Leeward Islands, close to the ABC Islands. But again, look at some of the areas that don't have much rain, right? It's the same spots. There's not a big change in the forecast. So the Northwest Caribbean on down towards Belize and the Cayman Islands, barely any rain, couple of millimeters possible, few millimeters, you know, we're talking about maybe a tenth to a quarter of an inch of rain for the Bahamas, right? Again, notice all the storms in the southeast side of the United States, but all that now basically traverses east rather than moving south and east. And then again, back over towards our northern sides there, you can see the Leeward Islands, it's gonna be exceptionally wet. You get down towards Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and again, we're looking at maybe 5 to 10 millimeters over the next 7 days. It's relatively dry. A lot of that will, you know, very much fall in maybe a day or two with many dry hours and locations. All right, back over to it. I want to take a real quick look at the chat. Say hi to everyone again. Noble Pills, GBI, appreciate you tuning in, Noble Pills. Island Girl says, would the Saharan dust affect any hurricanes developing? I hope I answered your question. Typically speaking, it can suppress development because it doesn't allow that moisture to lift, and it's just kind of a drier column of air. That being said, again, it's more prominent right now, and as we get deeper into hurricane season, it typically isn't as prominent. Andre says, Anguilla is very wet. Any more rain for Anguilla? Yes, there is the opportunity, and I'm going to show you that coming up. We're going to actually take a look at the long-range models here through the rest of May. Real quickly, guys, I do want to let everyone know that that's the wrong map again. Oh my goodness, this is hilarious. But you can see the movement of that Saharan dust layer here. I'm going to figure this thing out. It's a little bit different system when I go live to how these things play out in slides. I did really quick want to mention that you can become a member here at Meteo Mundo and maybe help me get a better software system. Supporter level is the only level we have. If you'd like to become a member, it's just 99 cents a month. You do get access to custom badges and emojis on these live chats. You can see those from some of our members who might be in chat right now. Also, you do get access to custom forecast videos when I produce those as well. And again, if you look for the join button here, it's just 99 cents a month. Really just a way to thank us here at Meteo Mundo. We appreciate your support. We appreciate everyone helping out. And again, if nothing else, and it is a big deal, I promise you, liking this video, subscribing to the channel can really help us out here. And I can't thank you enough for that. Thank you for the support, by the way. We're well over 9,000 subscribers. I think we're getting close to 9,300. And I would love to knock down that 10,000 subscriber barrier by the end of the month. We're trending in that direction. The viewer count is up. Obviously, a lot of folks are now more interested in what's happening across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and they're finding us. And again, I gotta say that the number of subscribers percentage-wise that watch these videos on average and then every day is very high for a YouTube channel. So that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like the people who have found us stick with us because there's something that they enjoy, something that they get out of it. So again, you got a question about the forecast, drop it in. Ferry says, why the ABC Islands too dry? You know, we've had some downpours here and there. I think it's just been very spotty. Now, we're still going to see the opportunity for some rain to try and slip over Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao the next few days. But again, the Saharan dust layer is also going to try and suppress some of this as well. So I'm putting the chance for rain for the ABC Islands right around 30% the next few days for us here. So let's do a few things. Let's take a look at our long range model here as far as precipitation goes. This is your reflectivity, this is your rain. I'm gonna let this go out all the way until May 24th, okay? So I've got the ability here with our system that we use, and we invested a lot in this technology to show you some of the longer global range models, okay? And then we can take a look at how that breaks down and whatever. Now this is just for informational purposes, right? We're never gonna put a lot of weight on what the models are gonna say 14, 17 days out, but it could give us trends, okay? And as we get deeper into May, that's what I'm looking at, friends. I'm looking at trends. What is shifting in our area that could lead to more rain, if nothing else, but also potential tropical development? One thing that's very persistent is we have our easterlies, right? We have our trade winds, which have been basically with us, with only a few exceptions, over the last several months. There are signs, especially in the Western Caribbean, that by the end of the month, the winds actually start to try and turn back out of the west, okay? That could be the first initiation, if you will, to allow for a little bit more development, maybe in the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, areas like that. And again, that is getting closer to the actual official start of the hurricane season. But when you have west winds coming out of Mexico and other areas like that, and we have still our easterlies to the central and the eastern Bahamas, now you have winds that are converging, and now you get just very natural lift in the atmosphere. So one of the things that I'm looking for are, do we start to see the winds turn out of the west in that area by the end of the month? Let's take a look at the rain here over the next several days. We'll get back to the short-term forecast coming up, but I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the tropics here as well. I just noticed, again, I actually have the main time frame on. There we go. So you're looking at, what are we here? We're at the 19th. So we're looking at about 11 days out. And I just want you to notice here that as we get into the 20s, as far as dates go, we start to see more moisture coming back out again of portions of the south central, southwest side of the Caribbean off the mainland there as well. And a nice, another big old slug of moisture moves right back into some of the areas that have had some of that heavier rain. And look at the persistence of this as we get about 2 weeks out. And if I loop this up just a little bit here, if I just do this, you kind of get the idea of what it's trying to tap into here. Now, this would be another system that moves north and east rather than tracking west. But a few more weeks down the road, we could be back in store, if nothing else, for some more widespread heavy rain. But also, by that point in time, right, what are the winds doing? Sea surface temperatures will be 2 weeks warmer out there as well, right? And we're just getting into a little bit more conducive environment. But I think if nothing else, if we get another wave like this, if we get another trough situated over the greater Antilles, the risk of more heavy rain is absolutely right back into play in these areas. Again, it's 2 weeks out, but you get the idea of some of the things that I'm keeping an eye out for us here as we move a little bit deeper into May. And you can see that as well. I'm going to let that loop one more time. Some of the areas that have been wet continue to stay very wet. Same thing for the northern side of the Leeward Islands. I don't see as much rain right here. Trinidad, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, St. Lucia. Again, the easterlies will pull in a few showers from time to time. But you can see here, our model is not latching on to any serious rainfall for you guys. And by the way, this model and the model I showed you for the 7-day rainfall totals are two different models. But they both agree that from about Martinique, especially St. Lucia south, we're not going to get a lot more rain here over the short term and potentially even a 2 to 3 week time frame. So I don't have a lot of reprieve as far as the dry weather goes in this area. I think it'll be more spotty as you get Dominica South, Guadalupe, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Saba, St. Eustatius, places like that, meaning that you're going to kind of catch the end of some of these moisture axis moving through. You'll still have your easterlies, but again, as we get into the 20s here, as far as dates go in May, so a couple of weeks out, you can start to see that big old slug of moisture. And it'll be interesting to see how long that kind of sticks around, because you almost notice that it looks like south winds will be trying to feed in to that here right at the end. Nice little plume coming up from the ABC Islands. But might have to be talking about a couple of weeks from now, places like the Turks and the Caicos, maybe even as far west as Jamaica, certainly Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, portions of the Leeward Islands as well. Now, let's go out west. What does it look like rainfall west? And then we'll take a look at wind as well. So what does it look like rainfall west? Again, not a lot of change in the short term. Still, we have pockets of energy developing in the Southwest Caribbean. But again, if I show you, if I zoom out a little bit more, you see again that the model takes the lower portions of those systems that are trying to spin up and moves it west through the Eastern Pacific rather than keeping it in the Southwest Caribbean. And we can actually pick up on one right there, and you can see it kind of moving away. Again, could that be one of the first signs of development in the Eastern Pacific? It's possible. That would be happening about 10 days from now. So I'll be very curious to see how that goes. But this is an area to monitor. There's no doubt about it. Southwest Caribbean. But as far as just daily rain, as far as daily rain goes for Cancun and Cozumel and Belize, Roatan, I don't see a lot, guys. By the way, we have some new people coming into the chat. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Just wanted to do a live stream today. This is kind of acting like our Wednesday video, but I wanted to talk about what was happening in Puerto Rico. Right now, I'm kind of breaking down what I expect for the rest of May. We're talking about tropics as well. Would love to hear from you in the chat. Drop it in the comment section below where you're viewing from. I always love to know where all my friends are tuning in from. While you're there, hit the like button on this. I appreciate it. And again, right now, we've kind of broken down the short term, but we're taking a look at what's might be happening here as we go deeper into May. And again, all looks relatively quiet in this area. Again, we might catch a couple of rogue showers coming in, drifting in here through Florida, trying to get into the Northwest Bahamas, but May can be a very dry month in the Bahamas. And my friends in Freeport and Nassau and other areas of the Northwest Bahamas, you guys are still under your short-term drought watch as well. Things have been dry there. Things I think are going to stay dry. Let's look at winds real quick. I'm gonna switch over to wind gusts. So this is the same model, okay? And this is gonna let us see what is the wind profile over some of these showers and storms that we've been looking at. So again, gonna let it loop. I'm gonna grab another drink of water. Come on in and join us. Project manager says, will all the Sahara dust help Trinidad with the hurricane season? Thanks for, first of all, tuning in, project manager, and for your question. So obviously you guys are dealing with the Saharan dust right now. And typically speaking, the Saharan dust is much more impactful early in the hurricane season, kind of even before hurricane season. So April, May, into portions of June. But as we really ramp up and get deeper into the hurricane season and the time that it's most active, typically the Saharan dust layer fades and doesn't play a factor anymore as far as really being able to traverse dust all the way across the Atlantic basin and into the Caribbean. So for right now, if let's say something did try and develop underneath that Saharan dust layer, it might suppress it. But I'm talking about the real hammer months. I'm talking about August, September, October. And the answer most years is no. The Saharan dust layer during that time does not have an impact. And again, there are a lot of favorable signs for development, including getting into the La Nina this year, which reduces shear, and these sea surface temperatures being out of control as well, which are already exceptionally warm. But thank you so much for your question, project manager. I appreciate it. Princess Lestrade says, we have a lot of rain in St. Martin. I imagine you do. It has been very wet in those areas. Thank you very much for your comment. I appreciate that. Always great to hear from all of my friends in those areas. And again, would love to hear from someone who's in Puerto Rico. They might have power outage issues. I know that some of the folks who regularly chime in, I did not hear from some of them yesterday, and I have concerns that maybe they are without power. It is an issue on the island, and even flooding can cause that. So let's take a look at, again, these winds. Now, I want to focus in on this area because, again, this was an area that we saw all of that moisture come up. So now what I would be looking at during this late time frame in the you know, from about May 20th to May 23rd is, do we see any kind of spin trying to get going here in the Central Caribbean? I don't see much. There's obviously a wind field associated with some of that, and it'll be very interesting to see. But right now, there's not a big signal. And even in that Southwest Caribbean, as I've mentioned, the winds are very slack, and the winds aren't extremely conducive in the mid-levels of the atmosphere for any more development. I always in May focus on the Gulf of Mexico, to be honest, as well. I focus on every place, but we've always, seems like typically, catch a little something in May in the Gulf of Mexico. There's a ton of wind energy, again, especially early on. Look at all of that right there in the Southwest Gulf of Mexico. Watch this flare up here in just a second. Look at all of that. That's a lot of wind right there moving through. That, I think, is caught up more in a mid-latitude cyclone, but let's say about 9-10 days from now as well, they could be cranking. This is the system here. If I go back over here real quick, the one that I was talking about coming off of the Pacific, you can see just right there, guys, just a little bit right there, just south of Acapulco. Could be first little signs of life right there. Always something to watch out for. But again, solid winds. Like, you know, again, this is going to be about 9 days from now. Really strong winds across the ABC Islands. So again, that's going to be ripping some moisture away. And by this time, of course, we're said and done with the Saharan dust, at least this first plume. Someone asked me, and it was an extremely great question, how far down the road can we really forecast the Saharan dust? Well, because it's such a localized phenomenon, believe it or not, and how the winds come off of West Africa, the model that I use goes out 10 days, and that's about as far as we can accurately forecast these Saharan dust plumes. So there are yearly averages, and we've been able to take all that information, and that's why we know when it's most concentrated in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. But as far as what's happening in the short term, we get about 10 days out, and that's about as far as we can really accurately predict the Saharan dust. So, you know, it's hard to really say when that next real thick plume will be coming in, if it does. But generally speaking here, beginning over the weekend, we'll start to see that Saharan dust really begin to filter away and move off towards our west. So improving conditions as far as that goes. Let's take a look at also what's called absolute vorticity. I've shown you guys this before as well. This is spin in the atmosphere. It's another thing that I like to look at here. And in the short term, you can see that there's a little bit of spin with our trough. And that's lift in the atmosphere. That's why it's been so wet over Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti, and portions of the Leeward Islands here. But again, we can also see, and if you're a weather nerd like me, you kind of like some of this stuff here, we can also see some of that energy coming off of the mainland there and streaming into the southwest side of the Caribbean. And then again, a little bit of twist out here on the Pacific side as well. So this is lift in the atmosphere basically, and it gives me an idea of, again, are there areas where we have high reflectivity, meaning high rain, where we have strong winds, and then where we also have lift. These are the ingredients I'm talking about. Again, you gotta have all these ingredients to come together to get a tropical system. Just because you have high sea surface temperatures doesn't mean anything. But again, this is interesting, okay? Because I've looked at everything else before I came on the air except for this product. Take a look at this, guys. Let's look at it together. So again, one model. We don't put a ton of weight into it yet, but I believe that there is going to be, look at that, a little bit of a twist there. Just a little bit. Anywhere you see, by the way, the purples, you're getting into a little bit more there. But again, just that last couple of frames, right? We start to see that lift right there, that same wind field area and the same high reflectivity area right here. Let's see. Right there, just right at the end. 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out. We'll put a pin in it, as they say. But what do you guys think? Hey, Warren, Portmore, Jamaica is very, very dry. Even though we got some rain last week, it dried up fast. I hear you, Warren. It's been really hit or miss in Jamaica, hasn't it? Some folks have told me they got too much rain and had a little bit of flooding. I remember a comment that talked about how good it was for the farmers, and others like Warren said they've had some rain, but it just hasn't been enough. So Warren, I appreciate that for you as well. Guys, if you have a specific question about the forecast, let me know in the comments section below. One thing I want to do here real quickly, by the way, is I do want to get into the actual 5-day forecast. Because again, we're gonna count this video, this live stream, as our Wednesday video as well. So I'm gonna reset this to just look over the next 5 days, and then we'll go from there, because I think it's important as well to kind of talk about the short term. And again, we have to also concern ourselves with what's happening in Puerto Rico as well. Another sip of water. So again, this is the first live stream we've done in a while here, and just wanted to again come back on and let you guys know kind of what to expect when we get into hurricane season. That when we have a system to talk about, I can come on live. We can track all of this live. We've got our live lightning data as well. We've got all the satellite data, all the models. We have obviously all the hurricane tracking information as well. And then we're going to have our 24/7 live stream as well. So you can get this information when you want to, when I'm not on. Obviously, we don't do both at the same time, but when I'm not on, you'll get that 24/7 live stream. So excited about that. Excited what we built behind the scenes here at Meteo Mundo. Again, we just basically started at the end of the last hurricane season. We were able to talk about Tammy, and then the hurricane season thankfully faded after that. But again, we're ramped up here. Whenever something happens, we're going to be ready to go and provide you guys with that information across your area. So looking at the forecast here across Santo Domingo, including all of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Let's get into Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands real quickly, because this is the area that's really had some flood potential here. So what is the model talking about over the next few days? Well, again, for tomorrow, I have my concerns, at least for one more day, for flare-up of additional heavy rain. I hope it's not as widespread. I hope we're beginning to fade this a bit. But that being said, I still think that opportunity for additional flash flooding across the islands. Do one thing real fast here, guys. Stick with me. I'm going to switch up one thing real quick. Something that I don't like about the model. All right, I'm going to let that loop up here real quickly. Oh, hang on. There we go. Okay, so this is going to come on here. It might come on in spurts, but basically I'm switching models because this one has had a much better handle on this surface trough, and I want to take a look at this one. And again, I have my concerns for tomorrow. I think we're going to have more wet weather for St. Croix and St. Thomas and St. John and all the British Virgin Islands, Vieques and Culebra, Fajardo. The entire island could see additional heavier rain. So we'll watch out for the potential flash flooding. And you can see this, again, models loading up. You can see how it plays out. But as I expand this view out, we stay somewhat wet over the next couple of days, and then we try and dry out a bit. And I say a bit because I don't think over the next 4 or 5 days we're completely dry. I think we get rid of the heaviest widespread rain and we have more occasional downpours in an isolated storm. But still, that opportunity exists. And again, Dominica North, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla. I've already mentioned the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico as well. Same thing for Hispaniola. We'll have additional showers developing. And again, I hope they're not concentrated enough to provide any more bad problems there. We've had at least a little bit of flooding, but nothing too outrageous. So what's the bottom line, guys? It's feast or famine, right? The wet stays wet, the dry stays dry, and that's the forecast that I'm expecting. I think it's going to be hit or miss again for Jamaica as well. Oh, Antigua and Barbuda felt an earthquake around 10:30 today. Gotcha. Can you show us the Atlantic Ocean of Africa? Sure, absolutely, Island Girl. I will get to that here in just 1 second. I appreciate your comment and your question. And I do have the opportunity, by the way, to show earthquake data. So we will take a look at that in just 1 second as well. There's not much I can't do on this system. Sometimes it's just having to choose to not make these videos too long. But what I love, and I'm telling you, you might think I hate it, but I love it when you guys in the comments say, what about my area? You didn't cover it long enough. Something happened, where, because that lets me know that you're paying attention, you're interested, and that you're really coming back here to make sure that you get the most up-to-date information. And I try and cover it all. And if I lacked in some way, please call me out. I want to make sure that I've got you guys covered across the area. We might end up having very long videos, but that's fine. We'll do that. For my friends in Jamaica, you can see again, a few spotty showers. Best opportunity, I think, is for tomorrow. And then again, you start to see at least some haze enter your sky beginning on Friday. See, today is Wednesday. Yeah, so beginning on Friday. So for tomorrow, I think our best chance for showers is going to be then. And again, you can see those pop up here, right there. Hopefully you guys get some more rain. Models favoring central, western sides, Mandeville, Maypin West. We can still catch a couple of showers through portions of the south and eastern sides of the island. Real quickly again, I've mentioned it several times, but it's basically dry. Not a lot going on. We could catch a brief shower, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados. Not much more than that. ABC Islands, opportunity for a couple of showers here and there, but that would be about it. And then off towards the west, as I've mentioned here again, you can just see that the generally dry weather continues. This is the NAM model, and you can just see what the NAM model is doing here. Again, maybe a very broad area of disturbed weather, but you notice how generally that pushes off towards the west, just outside of what the model covers. So Island Girl says she wants to know about the rest of the Atlantic. So I can show you worldwide, guys. We can go out as far as we want. So here you go, right? So again, you know, it's clear to see right? What's happening right now? You've got the westerlies here, generally speaking, pushing the Saharan dust. If you guys notice, look at this big slot here. I'm gonna take myself off camera. Look at all that dry air that's in place. Now, obviously, you have some blow up off of our surface trough. And even this time of the year, I look at this area and say, is there any spin? But it's gonna get absorbed into a mid-latitude cyclone to the north, and it's all gonna be straight line, more than likely nothing wrapping up. But you get the idea there. And then again, you kind of move up here, you get into some cooler terrain. But there you go, that's the broad look. Obviously, as you get down in lower latitudes, you have a more active area of persistent showers and storms. Every so often, we break a piece off of there where we see some of that move up to the north and to the west. But generally speaking, we just see development here in the Atlantic Basin that would drive there. So that's what it looks like there, Island Girl. You also mentioned the earthquake. So I can do that. Let me bring on the earthquake data here. Happy to do so. Let's take off the satellite data. So again, from time to time, I haven't mentioned it too much, but I absolutely can. And you said you were in Antigua, Barbuda. Okay, so here we go. Right there. There you go. 30 kilometers south-southeast of Falmouth. Magnitude 4.9. That's a solid one, indeed. So thank you, Island Girl, for that. Island Girl, did you hear of any damage of any kind? Typically speaking, these are far enough away where you might feel the shake. There's not a lot of damage associated with them off of some of these ocean fault lines. And I got to tell you, Puerto Rico is always an area that seems to have a fair amount. So they are shaking while they're flooding. Mayaguez, 2.9, 2.9 there. These are far enough away where you're not going to feel them. Someone in the comments section, by the way, earlier this week said that there was one just southeast, I believe, of the Cayman Islands. They didn't feel it, but there was the report of it. So there you go. Hi, Ms. Brooks. PDS tornado warning for Tennessee. Yes, indeed there is. So obviously on this channel, we cover the Caribbean and the Bahamas. I keep an eye out for everyone. And we're talking about some rough weather up here in portions of the eastern United States. Appreciate you tuning in as well. Thank you for joining us. I have started a Central Florida weather channel, by the way, as well. We'll talk more about that and other aspects coming up. But for my friends here on Media Mundo, again, very interesting. Nice little earthquake cluster there. And then the one that Island Girl was talking about right there. Kimmy wants to know why the south side of Jamaica not getting any rainfall. It's so spotty right now. There's no reason, if you will, why maybe you miss some of that rain. It is the potluck of Mother Nature sometimes. Now, this is the live data. When I put on the lightning, again, we don't see that as much. I can actually switch over to the the visible satellite imagery, and you can see that we did have some cloud coverage today that is beginning to fade. We're also losing daylight, so we're losing some of this really nice shots here of the visible satellite imagery. I'm gonna put on temperatures again real quickly as well. So there's been a few showers there, and again, we've seen Kingston's temperature kind of hold at 86, Montego Bay right now at 84. Let me put back on the main timeline here so you guys can see that as well. But again, just not as active. Also remember too that you guys are right on the edge of getting some of that Saharan dust. So unfortunately, I believe that your rain chance is actually going to drop again a little bit as well. All right. You're welcome, Island Girl. I appreciate you as well. All right, guys, we're coming up on an hour. And that was about the time that I wanted to be on for today. Again, if you guys got any specific questions real quickly before I get out of here, let me know. If you're just tuning in to Media Mundo, one of the things that I like to highlight is we've added live lightning data. So you are looking at what is happening in the here and the now, where we had some thunderstorms roll across places like St. Bartholomew and Barbuda and Antigua, and you can see your temperatures as well. Again, this is all going to be extremely helpful as we get deeper into hurricane season, and I'm on live more and more with tropical updates. But obviously, if you're looking for the daily forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, we use all of this information for your daily forecast as well. So thank you so much for liking. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe. And if you want to do me a big favor and share this page with your family and friends and let them know that we're out there. Again, we are, I believe, approaching 9,300 subscribers. and we're relatively new. I would love to get above 10,000 before we get to June 1st. I think it's absolutely possible the way things have been going, and I appreciate you guys very much as well. Thank you, Kimmy. I respect you and your channel. Tune in every day. Thank you. Have a lot of friends in Jamaica. Highly watched in Jamaica and other areas. I absolutely put equal weight on everyone, but it's great to hear from some of my friends in Jamaica and some of the other areas that have embraced us here at Media Mundo, and I certainly appreciate that. All right, friends, I am going, before we go, Andre says, how much inches of rain we get in the Leeward Islands over the next 5 days? Andre, hang on real quick. I'm gonna take myself off camera. I can show you the next 7 days. I've got that up right now. Oh, I do have that one model. You're right about that, Andre. But let me find this particular graphic. This is the 7-day rainfall total. This will give you a good idea, kind of everyone a good idea at once. So it really depends on where you are there, Andre, if you could remind me exactly where you are. But generally speaking, from Martinique south, it's very limited. And then from Martinique north, we have the opportunity for a little bit more heavier rain. A lot of that is gonna fall over the next couple of days, but there's that opportunity for a few more showers after that. So I can do this as well because I do have that product up. And if you guys are regular viewers here of Media Mundo, I typically end our videos with this. So here you go. This is rainfall over the next 5 days. Let's get the model timeline up there so you can see that. So it's the 13th, perfect. So again, what are we looking at here? Get that off the screen. For you guys, where are you there, Andre? Yeah, tornado emergency in Tennessee, man. So I'm from Florida, right? Which is one reason why I love tropical weather. I spent 7 years in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma. And if you guys know that, that is the tornado capital of the world. They had some really nasty storms the last couple of days, and all of that has shifted east. Portions of Ohio and Illinois got slammed, and now Tennessee is starting to take the brunt of it as well. So our thoughts are with all of our friends there, obviously, here in my home country, the United States. So let's talk about some of this rain. As I mentioned again, there's Martinique, and then you get north, and now we're talking about the opportunity for a little bit better rain. And again, this is over the next 5 days. Generally speaking, for the northern Leeward Islands, you're looking at pockets of downpours, right? Many dry hours and locations, but downpours to get you up to that ½ inch to maybe an inch of rain in a couple of spots. But it's not persistent like they're gonna see in the US and the British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, all right? So again, and I want to be clear, this model has been underdoing the rain fairly significantly, to be quite honest. It did better a few days ago. It's a little bit lower than what it should be right now, I think. But again, if they get an additional 1 to 2+ inches, which a lot of that will fall in the next 36 hours or so, more flash flooding could be a problem in these areas. So it's not fun, but we still have high rainfall totals for the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. Same thing for portions of Hispaniola. Again, you know, you're looking at a few spots that could be over 2 inches of rain. They've, I think, been dry enough lately where most areas will be able to handle this without additional flooding issues. But it's just been very wet and stormy in this area as well, and I don't expect that to change. And again, Trinidad, Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados, if we can, you know, drift a shower over your area, I actually feel good about it. But generally speaking, several of the major models have very little rain in this area over the next 5 to 7 days. A brief passing shower, I can't rule it out. You're just not going to see a lot. ABC Islands, which did have a few downpours. I saw the video and I've looked at some of the information, but a few of you have chimed in from the ABC Islands saying that you're still dry. So obviously it's been extremely hit or miss. Well, now it becomes more miss than hit. Again, Saharan dust layers moving in. We start to suppress some of that. Now your rain becomes very minimal here. Still a few downpours are possible, but that would be about it. Jamaica, again, if we get a few showers here that could provide us with some decent rain, I think it's tomorrow. Potentially later tonight as well, but generally speaking, it's tomorrow because I do expect us in general to dry out beginning on Friday. So again, ½ inch to 1 inch of rain. We'll take it, right? We'll take what we can get. Port Antonio, maybe another 1/4 to a ½ inch here in the next few days. Kingston, a ½ inch. Again, we average this. So let's average it a ½ inch to 1 inch in most spots. So at least there's some more rain on the way, but you know with that Saharan dust too, it's going to be extremely hot and extremely humid. There is your exceptionally dry weather for the northwest side of the Caribbean, including Belize City and Roatan, all of that heavy rain. Again, we talked about the rain in the southwest Caribbean, but look at all of the rain in the Pacific. By the way, that yellow, that's 14 inches or close to it. I think at least 10. It's a lot of rain, a lot of moisture. But again, most of that stays south of the Caribbean. All right, Andre and Anguilla, did I get you, buddy? Here you go. Right there. So the model has about 7/10 of an inch of rain. Let's see here. 50 millimeters on average is about 1 inch. So let's say about 35 to 40 millimeters in this area. But again, downpours. So for the Leeward Islands, many dry hours, but you're going to catch a downpour or two, which gets you up to those totals. Thank you, Island Girl. I appreciate you. Gotcha, Andre. I hope you caught that. All right, gang. Any other questions here before I get out of here? Again, you're looking live at the information, and I'm happy to answer any other more questions. If not, we can wrap it up for today and say we'll see you again tomorrow. Throw on that lightning data again. I just love to show it off. Extremely happy that we have it here at Meteo Mundo now. Let's see here. I lost my lightning counter. Where did that go? Did I just push it away too far? Or am I not seeing it? It might have just disappeared. It happens. It's all good. So normally there'd be like a lightning count there. I thought I might have accidentally taken it off, but I believe it's just not there for right now. But that's fine. No big deal. Throw it back on real quick. So again, you can see where we had the thunderstorms out there. Island Girl has a cousin who lives in Florida. Well, tell them to tune in. Tell them to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Again, we had some thunderstorms over there. Real quick, I think I'm going to wrap up just by looking at Puerto Rico one more time. Because again, if folks are just tuning in right now, that's been the area that has had some significant problems. I'm going to let that loop on real fast. It does look like they're trying to dry out a little bit. That's so good. It's been so wet there. I'm going to go back over to my tablet here real quick. Yeah, there's no active flash flood warnings. At least we're drying out for the evening here in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. That's good. I think there's more wet weather on the way for tomorrow. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, wanted to just jump on, have the opportunity to show you some of our live data here at Meteo Mundo, kind of talk about what I expect for the rest of May as we get a little bit more interested in the tropics and what might be happening here. And then obviously kind of give you guys a preview that when it does get going, some of the things that we can do when we're live. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great one, friends.